And welcome everyone to another exciting adventure of riding through the unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and today I have a special guest returning for her second appearance on our show, my show. Wow, I'm giving my show away to you already.
Wow, thank you. What a present. Okay.
We had the blessing of meeting on Healerverse, and
Oh, yeah.
it has been an amazing journey. And so I am blessed to have her back on to share what she's been up to lately. And she has some really cool new workshops coming up. So we're going to talk a little bit about that possibly. I leave it up to her. And so before I start unveiling everything, I am going to turn it over to my guest to share with you what she's been up to. So I give you the one, the only spiritually awakened extraordinaire, Ragan Thomson.
Wow, Michael, what a really kind introduction. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so it's so good to be here with you again and with everyone. That's a big question. Wow, it's been an incredible time to be on this planet. I'm here to serve, locally and globally. I work on both scales and levels. I choose to really just be as much surrendered to spirit as I possibly can, really to where I'm being guided to work. And really in the last many months now, it's been really more about serving within the realm of being a soul facilitator, basically a soul emergence teacher, which means really guiding folks back to their divine true essence of their soul, connecting into their divinity, to the truth of who we really are, who I am, who you are, as a soul, as a spark of creation, as a divine emanation of the one, of spirit. And so not to disregard the humanness, but to realize our divinely human nature. So that's been the predominant mission. That's showing up in all kinds of ways. Yes, and speaking engagements, workshops, things like that, retreats. Also in the development of a school, a spiritual school that's going to be an online platform. It's called a soul school. So basically what I'm being told, it's to help souls kind of immediately awaken to that truth and then go on the journey of life in a school so that they can be held and supported. Everything from point of conception work, how'd that look for you? Was it conscious? Was it not? Really diving into when the soul comes in, to the birth process, all the way through the trajectory of the soul's evolution, to the death and dying process, the transition process, and beyond after that as well. So really diving into everything, right? Just the awakening of the divine self into the world, From there, right, there's all this cool stuff that can start to happen, which is we start to remember, we remember who we really are. So we remember also the things that we enjoy. Our core values come online. We start to go, wow, I really feel like my mission and my purpose is starting to unfold, and I'm not saying that someone couldn't have had a mission and purpose before they were awake, but sometimes it may not have been bringing them as much joy. So, what innately happens when we wake up as a soul in a body is we become in connection to joy, innate peace, innate love. Our soul is made of that. So, the only thing that I feel that we're kind of having a challenge with at times on our planet with humans or with the different systems that are at play is this has been forgotten. There's been an amnesia that's when, folks come into this world with, and they may not have had the blessing or the opportunity or even the karma available to them at this in this lifetime to start to do the healing work to clear those cobwebs. So I just happen to be in a lifetime of all the lifetimes where again my soul came here to wake up and continue to deepen in that process, and then to now also facilitate that process for others, as well as help their souls to awaken, remember, and then hopefully move into service. So that's the other piece of the journey, which is that which I'm here to help folks line up with their soul's mission and purpose so they can go out and serve in the way that brings them joy.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm in awe because I'm sitting here listening to all of this and going, I barely have time to do my paranormal stuff and podcast and research. And I'm like, that's three things. And you're like over there with like a dozen. And I'm like, am I like slow? No, I know I'm not slow. It's we're all on our own journeys, but
Yeah.
it's like I'm in awe because it's like there's only so much time in a day, and yet you're accomplishing all of this. So, congratulations on that and for the unfolding. And wow, I just am like so impressed and like, how are you functioning? Because it seems like you would be getting very little sleep doing all of this.
But thank you for that question. And it's just like anyone on this call getting experience this podcast together. I've been on my own unique journey of evolution, and I think one of the beautiful benefits, like we were talking about, the soul's journey and the awakening of the soul, is that we tap into this unlimited potential and power, and there is a lot of energy there. There's a lot of vital energy. There is I do sleep. I love to sleep. I think sleep is really wonderful. I don't sense that I'm sleeping as deeply as I could because I'm often traveling or working or assisting even in I kind of see there's the waking world and there's the dream world, and they're just two different worlds, and they're both very real. And so, and I'm still human, I still have moments where I'm go inward and outward. I still need to um, take time. I'm really all about that, of which how can I serve that way? It's because I need to take good care of myself, right? So, I definitely have a lot of Libra in my system. So I am, I've done a lot of the work to bring that to the highest point of understanding, really. So meaning like my system is really in a place of consistent balance and trying to learn to harmonize within to process out what is not feeling harmonious, and then kind of balance my world in a way that like, oh, time with self, time with other, time with world, time with service, time with children, time with marriage. I sense I sound like I'm just constantly working, and I realize that all of that is the work. There is no compartmentalization. So meaning I get fueled by those different buckets really, and so it's interesting. I think that's part of my soul process. Not everyone's is, experiencing life fully and in a rich way really fuels me. right? So it feels like it's a lot for some. From my system, it feels like it's teaching me. I'm aware of the dynamics energetically. I'm aware of the programs, the patterns, how to unplug from the matrix. So it's like a dance, like a play, kind of, or something. So it feels really invigorating. I think that's where I get my energy. I used to get swept up by it, like for a lot of people, it's some of those programs and patterns that I also had within me felt very painful at times. I didn't always have, like, I also, like many, I came in very awake, and then I chose parents in an environment that was very challenging. So I definitely felt like I fell asleep a minute there, and then I got very sick for a while. I dealt with, like, high level depression, anxiety. And then that caused me to move into my healing work, right? And so kind of being at the darkest point at some point, like the darkest, like, oh no, I don't want to be here anymore, to go, okay, no, I still choose the light. I choose still love. Getting on that journey after that, I pretty much would say the spiritual journey for me started about 25 years ago. And I went pretty deep in, because I was so tired of feeling sick and tired. So, in a long-winded way, to say that I too have been pretty much where anyone has been if they've been in a lot of pain. It's just the only difference is, I think, because I hit such a massive amount of it, I was like, "Wow, I better do some work on this or I'm not gonna be here." And I kinda looked outside myself and I saw a lot of things to live for. I did. I looked at flowers and the animals, and I had some family members, absolutely. I was like, "Okay, I feel loved enough that I wanna stick around for them." I hadn't gotten married yet or had children. I was like, "I need to do some inner work or I'm not gonna be in this body."
Right. I totally get that. And that is amazing. And um, I have moderators now watching over the chat and everything and helping out. And
Yeah.
so Jason kindly brought up your YouTube link and shared your YouTube channel with everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have YouTube, and I have quite a bit on Instagram as well. We do consistent content, and really a great place if you want to go to raganthomson.com is where I have a plethora. It's like a resource center.
It
So
is.
that's where you'll find, I used to have a podcast show as well, and all the past meditations, and yeah, it's more like a resource center. So yeah, it's a great place to go to.
Yes, and you're working on a book or
Yeah. Yeah, I finished.
another book?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually just a author within, I think I'm on my 4th book. Yes. It's with a company, a beautiful organization called Awakened. I've been invited to be an author with them a few times now. Very proud of the book that just came out, the chapter. I'm writing a chapter in each one with a group of authors. It's called The Awakened Healer. So, that's a beautiful chapter. It's really, an exploration of who I've become as this divine conduit of spirit, as the gift of which I share. Right now, spirit might say, next week, we're going to do it differently, and this is how it's going to go. But um, there within that chapter, it has kind of a step by step guide around a process that I hold and share with others called the divine emergence activation, soul emergence, divine activation. So that activation again is soul, great, beautiful soul work, being guided back to your soul, getting to know your soul, a step by step practice and process. It was fun to do it because a lot of times you don't put this into words until you need to put it into words. And you're like, how do I write that down?
Right.
How do I explain this in words? So I think it was done well, and it's been fun to write a few chapters. Yeah. Mhm.
Talking about the soul, I just had an interesting thought pop in my mind is we talk about doing shadow work. We talk about doing inner child work. Nobody really talks about like inner teenage work or inner adult work, which I wonder if that's what we changed from inner child to shadow. We just changed the title. But
Mhm.
that aside, I wonder when you talk about doing soul work, are all of these in essence the soul work? And we just are car- what's the word? You said it earlier.
Compart
Compartmentalized.
Mhm, compartmentalizing. Yeah, it's a big word to
Yeah.
share. It is, it's a bit of a tongue twister. Mhm.
But is those the same? We're working on the same thing, or are we working on different things and the soul is different?
Thanks for asking that question. Well, it is really all soul work, honestly. It's all those are all basically I it's good that we're chatting about this because I was just doing a meditation for folks this morning. It was called the Great Reclamation. And it's and that really again, things always happen in divine timing. So spirit was like, let's talk about, that basically work all of that work is reclaiming ourself back home, right? Like bringing ourself home. So the ultimate great reclamation is bringing your all parts of yourself, your child parts, the shadow work, any part of yourself that has felt not welcome, not loved, not attended to, still kind of outside of us, not really home, right? Not like dissolved into your heart, into your soul, like this. It's true that when we do that great work, just whether it be through forgiveness work or whatever modality, prayer, meditation, EFT, there's all these wonderful things. For a long time, I was an inner child specialist. That was my predominant kind of way I would guide people through their process. But at some point, it moved into soul because soul spirit was like, well, that's just one piece of the puzzle, and let's move into like the actual what we're doing here, which is we're bringing people back home so that they begin to embody. There's an embodiment process that's happening, and what are we really embodying until again? There's even a deeper evolution beyond soul, as you know. It's like keeps going, but the work that I'm being called to help folks with, which is a pretty nice chunk of work, is to do that inner child work, but let the soul be online the whole time as you work, right? Like really, you're guiding folks back to their soul as a way to start the process from there. It's not like, oh, I'm doing this inner child work, and as you know, sometimes that work can get a little loopy. Be like, well, I'm back to another part again, and it feels like, why am I here again? It's another part of the story. And sometimes we don't realize, but our process has begun to be processed by the ego itself or the child itself or the mind taking a hold. It's more of a psychological processing. So what we're inviting in is which of course we don't expect a lot of folks to be like, well, I completely understand that, because what I'm hearing from spirit is this is the new way forward for the planet. This is part of the new world processing system. This is a part of a maybe higher level of consciousness, quantum transformational kind of experience, light work, energy work, right? Spirit guiding us back to our soul, surrendering to that light, calling in the light, helping people with the parts of themselves that are like, oh, I don't know what that light is. Oh, like really just this nourishing, compassionate, energetic work. But yeah, the soul becomes really even just moment after the next, right? One practice after the next, one meditation after the next. It more and more some of that with good guidance and help and assistance initially, which is what we've been offering and teaching about. That dust that settled upon your soul's light is removed, and where it felt like we kinda have to depend out here, we begin to come home to ourselves, so we start to really truly feel empowered from within, and it's almost like our soul becomes our inner healer, our soul becomes the facilitator, and the soul's like, "Come on home, I'm right here." There's just enough dust that's settled upon your light that has been removed that you're like, "Oh, that's why I've been talking about coming." That's why the beautiful master teachers and all those beautiful beings, they're, in the statues and the images we see, Jesus, Mother Mary, the Buddha, often there's a light shining from their heart, or they're literally pointing to their hearts. They're literally just, there's this beautiful, they're like saying, this is the home. This is your gateway. This is where you come home to. This is who you really are. And beyond that, you get to wear this beautiful vehicle. You get to be in this vehicle, this body for a short time. And this of which is here, your soul is goes on beyond this body. And so what's cool about the soul work too is it's not about becoming something within it. It's about kind of letting go of everything that you're not. And so that's different than this ego-based, I gotta be something, I gotta do something, I gotta show them it's like the end of that. It's the end of the doing. It's the moving into the beingness and your beingness, your presence, your holy, holy presence of who you really are is here. And so does it help? Some folks are like, well, where's here? It's like, well, I mean, often in the chapter as well, we spoke of specifically there's a seat of your soul and it exists within you. It's helpful for folks to actually find that seat. And we kind of imagine it as this spark, this beautiful ball of light, this beautiful glowing soul that is in a seat behind your heart. And so I help guide folks to this seat and they keep going back there over and over again until you no longer have to keep going back there. You just live there. You just stay there.
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk about it being behind the heart because I don't know if you saw this, but it was like in the 80s. It was like one report and then it disappeared. But I happened to see it, and my parents saw it too. Was a doctor found a violet flame behind the heart,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so and it like quickly disappeared. But it's like it's interesting how you talk about the seat behind the heart, and
Mhm.
there's a violet flame behind the heart that's a physical visual flame. And another thing that I recently discovered and you might find interesting is the sun is like the heart of our universe that we're in,
Mhm.
and it has a portal and black hole within itself, and we have portals and a black hole within ourselves. And it's interesting that you're like, yeah, everyone's pointing to the heart.
Mhm.
And so it's like, yeah, the heart is our sun and it's our
Mhm.
connection to the sun. And it's
Mhm.
just, yeah, it was interesting how you were describing it. I was like, yeah, it sounds like our connection with the sun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. Beautiful, stated. And I feel like there's been some various practices to kind of say the same thing, our connection to the central sun, our connection to, really grounding the light to the core of the earth and the sun. And really, there's a channel that moves between, and we are just like this light that exists within it. And yeah, I mean, I sense that. Yeah, I've also saw literature only like maybe one other time, and it kind of disappeared from my life as well. And I also worked with a facilitator for a short time that did a little bit of this work, and, I remember it was so potent and powerful, but it was just like a small glimpse, and spirit was like, "No, no, that was a few years ago, and now it's not it's important to not make that a small glimpse." And that is like and maybe there's just was the time wasn't right, the consciousness, the frequency, the energy, there's receptivity to it now. Folks were like, "What is that?" And now it's like, wow, I feel that, I'm seeing that. And I am noticing that, there's this work has the potential to bring you back to your divine I am, right? Your I am presence. So that of which is just um, a place of feeling just at ease, and there's a peace in that. So I don't think it's by any accident that it was taken out of the literature, was taken out of the world, and then now it's returning, and it's here now, and it's needs to be probably kind of at the center of most practices, really. And I think that really, if there's a way to describe the great awakening, the awakened world, the new earth that's developing, that's with a lot of awakened souls. That's and also how do we build the bridge between the old earth and the new earth is we need them to wake up enough that they will choose to go to the new earth, choose to be in the new earth and that stream of consciousness and within that dimensional field. And that is a unfoldment. And in sometimes in the past, it might have seemed like a long I'm speaking on behalf of my own process, like a longer journey, long, arduous kind of journey. I'm in awareness that there was a group of folks that came to be the bridge builders. I'm one of them. And so we did go through that kind of longer, arduous road. It built us within us a lot of courage and strength and resilience and tolerance. And it really is required to be able to create that bridge. As you can imagine, you're dealing with folks that are very against it, don't understand it. They're, you're bringing them back to their soul and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do here. And I don't know if I'm going to choose this. So it takes a lot of commitment and bravery to keep showing up with those folks. But the good news is why I'm sharing it, is that the work we're talking about this soul work is it's very rapid in how it heals and helps. It's not a long process. It is if someone is willing to really stay with it and really keep going there and doing it, it's like there's a rapid shift that can happen. I have a few testimonies that have come forward from this work recently, from folks that I've worked with, and their whole life is changing in a good way. They're becoming much more sovereign. They feel much lighter. They feel joy. They found their purpose. There's all kinds of, and this is all in very short amount of time, like a lot changing fast. So I just sense that's, if I meet up with facilitators or healers that I feel in alignment with these days, typically, if we're really in alignment, they're usually like myself, a planetary grid worker, they're a divine I am transmission facilitator, they're working in quantum transformation. And again, I feel like that's the type of energy that's coming through the healers and the teachers that are really here to serve as bridge builders.
No, I truly agree with that. And I kind of curious your thoughts on the spiritual world. It seems like we work on ourselves as adults, or we work on ourselves as the inner child, healing the inner child. But why is it, am I like one of the only ones that's really noticed there's no healing the inner teenager or inner young adult, inner adult? Because I mean, it's like,
Just saying the words entertain work.
I mean, it's interesting because it's like, you look at all the different things in the world and it's like, yes, heal the inner child. Do
Mhm.
your shadow work. It's like, well, does the inner child grow up, or, what happens to, ego evolves. Does the inner child not? Is And so, yeah, I'm like wondering, why is there this piece missing, it feels like.
Hmm. Well, that's a great, great question, and I can see where that is creating a contemplation. Um, yeah, like I said, that was the predominant work I did, and I still do with folks. I just did some more this morning, more soul-based inner child work. Um, the terminology is what it is, but what the truth is, with inner work that way, good, healthy inner work with inner child work that is effective. I mean, I'll just state on behalf of myself of doing tons and tons of inner child work to get where I'm at, to be where I'm at. It was highly effective and really, really needed. Was that, you know, the inner teen is definitely, for most folks, a lot of work to do there. If not all the work prior with the child, the baby, the 3-year-old, the 8-year-old, whatever age, sometimes folks, if they stay with it, you'll start to kind of memories, traumas, pain points, parts of self, parts like inner child parts will show themselves when they feel safe and ready. So, a good inner child specialist, I would say, or facilitator will guide you to the earliest memory. And that's where you start. You start at the root. You want to start when it was, let's say there's a belief or there's a fear that in your adult life, you're like, no, this feels really heavy, and then you take them back. Most likely you're going to find a root when that first began, so you want to start there. And often that isn't just as a teen, it grows and develops over time into the teen years. So the child work is what it is. It's a lot of this can even happen, like I was saying, with the soul school, right? Point of conception. What was your mom saying in utero? How did that go? Was it a conscious conception or was it like an accident? There's so much that already happens before you become a teen or a young child, it's like a lot is already unfolding. The ego's in its full formation by age 7 usually. So already you're dealing with this voice that's like, "You're not good enough, and yeah, that's real, and you need to worry about," just you're like, "Oh, what's happening? I have all these voices." Already that's a good amount of work for a lot of people, and depending how much, karma you came in with to resolve and what your soul's lessons are, there's all these different kind of pieces of the puzzle, right? And so as you're doing that inner child work, some folks will be like, "Oh, I did a few layers of that, a few sessions, feel pretty good." Some folks are like, "Wow, I keep going back in, and it's like I'm going right back to the 1-year-old. I'm going right back to the 3-year-old every time. Something happened when I was 3, and then we start to dissolve that, and that heals." That doesn't mean that, when you go back and you have to now work with the 8-year-old, it's because now it's like the 3-year-old passed it on to the 8-year-old, the 8-year-old passed it on to the 14-year-old. So we just have to kinda keep moving through, um, and usually there's a few poignant spots there. There's a few poignant beliefs or fears or worries that got kind of trapped, and they kind of begin to be like a weed in the garden and start to move through these other timelines, right? And so then, yeah, I can tell you on behalf of my own personal process that my biggest wound was at age 15. It was a teen, and it took a while to get there because I needed to do that pre-work in order for her to feel safe to come forward. So, yeah, eventually, I find that a lot of folks with the teen work comes a little bit later, and they're like, "Oh, I had no idea." And then like the big like spirit's like, "I will never give you more than you can handle." And you're like, "Oh,
Right.
that's where it's all at," it's, like, stored in this moment. And usually that's really also because for teens I have teenagers, I actually have 4. I have 4 teenagers right now, and, I this a lot of their unresolved wounding, pain, karma, it starts to become, like, not just felt, but they start to show you, like, where those patterns exist. And if they have conscious parenting, hopefully they'll still stay awake through it, and then other than if they don't, it's like, ugh, maybe we go into concave, store the energy, go into whatever drugs, alcohol, try to figure out how to deal with the pain in an unhealthy way, right? And so then that can lead to the child, the teen going to sleep, losing consciousness, right? And so a lot of the teen time tends to be when a lot of souls, beings, tend to go to sleep. They may come in awake, but then they go back to sleep again in their teen years. And then they wake up again with the inner child work, right? And or maybe like me, I didn't actually have a facilitator to deal with the amount of pain I was in until I was in my mid 20s. So I had like a good chunk of time where I was like, it was early 20s maybe when I first kind of dove into a deeper expression of the work, but like really diving deep mid to later 20s. And I just was I had a lot of work to do. That was like a backlog. So, yeah, I hope to say just that it's called inner child work, but it definitely now even then can evolve past child and teen, right? Like then if you eventually do your work, it's like a inner adult, inner young adult, and you're working with your inner young adult, and it's like, oh, my adult self, my present self, like it keeps moving, and then eventually, what I've noticed is that you still will always have your inner child, and you want to have your inner child. That's a part of your soul's makeup. That is a healed child. That is a joyous child. It is the child that we don't want to lose. It's the one with the wonder and the imagination and the creativity and the play. A healed, joyous child exists with the inner child work.
And I kind of feel like as the inner child heals, our abilities, if you want to call them abilities or gifts or whatever term you want to use, I feel like are either enhanced or maybe go dormant because they were designed to bring about that change, that healing. And so it's like, I feel like there's a connection there. And yeah, as we're becoming more aware of more things in our world that are unseen all around us that have been here all the time. It's like, well, who sees them first? Well, the children do.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so as
Yeah.
we as adults, it's it's almost like the Peter Pan effect,
Mhm.
where, I was just thinking about this with the movie Hook, where they showed Peter Pan grew up and he lost the ability to see the magic in the world,
Mhm.
and they're all having to reteach him, and it's like he's failing miserably at it until they sit down to eat, and he's like, "What do you mean there's food?" And then all of a sudden this food fight arrives, and
Mhm.
they're like, "You can see. You're
Mhm.
back. You
Mm,
you
yeah,
can." And
yeah.
it's like, yeah, and it's like I kind of like was like, to me, the
Mhm.
feeling of we're we look at ourselves as awakening and evolving, but I feel like it's quite the opposite. Is we're awakening, but we're not evolving, we're becoming.
Mhm,
Like,
exactly.
we're remembering.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a lot there. Well, I mean, a couple things based on your share. One, you know, a lot of the soul gifts, I would call them, more of these higher abilities or soul gifts or um yeah, our energy centers being open to be able to like hold and share are these beautiful gifts that we have come in with. And a lot of people have these gifts, but they've become dormant. There's a lot of reasons for that. One could be in a past life, they were misused. So they kind of shut them down themselves because they're like, well, I didn't use that in a very healthy way. I don't want to do that again. Um, so that's a healing process that needs to unfold to trust in oneself and one's power. Another one is to not have been nurtured or supported to have those gifts and by your family and to say like that's a really great thing that you have going on. It's called this or it's called that and we want to support that and we believe in that and that's super important for a child to feel that to not shut those gifts down because we can actually shut them down energetically and on a subconscious level just discard them, and turn them off and turn off our energy centers that way. And to, so that's why we do the inner work, right? Because then we begin to not only clear in the blockages, the cobwebs that settle upon our light, but as our chakra centers start to become more functioning well and traveling and working in unison with one another, and there's no more uh, disjunction between them. It's like a unified system. Um, all kinds of stuff. But also, one of the blessings of soul awakening is soul gifts coming online. So it's kind of a can be gradual for some. Sometimes it's like a whoa, just all of a sudden. That's an interesting karmic possibility when it's just like that, when you hear about that. I know stories of that. I would say as soon as from my own personal experience that when I went to sleep and went through that massive shift of feeling well, came awake, fell asleep, woke back up, it was like this like literally feeling like alive again, like just like, oh my God, like here I am again, and I certainly did not think that. I remember as a child being very magical and in the fairy realm and experiencing this cool stuff and being able to move things and change things and all kinds of and then if I shared that with someone, they'd be like, right, sure you did, and I was the youngest of three girls, three daughters. And so I remember I was in a family where they're very strong, very powerful people, and they're all like, "You're a little girl." And so I chose wisely to experience this, like, kind of discarding me on a spiritual level, and then to kind of go, oh, maybe they're all right, and self-doubt and all the things that I went into. Okay, well, I'll just get really into sports. I'll just do whatever they like to do, and all that just was a part of the soul's journey for me, and so when I woke back up, I quickly started to remember. I mean, I literally had my first facilitator, a healer, a teacher that I work with who was just an angel. I was so grateful I found her. And as I started to do just few months of deep work, just crawling into in and out of the office, like, "Oh, I'm back again. I have so much." And then, like, groveling and just releasing and releasing and such good work, and another session, I just stayed with it, right? I stayed really committed, and I kept coming in for more, and pretty solid 6 months, and then suddenly I was just like she's like, "You're a teacher of teachers. You're a healer of healers. You're here to help the planet and heal and help them." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was just awake enough to go, "That could be true. I'm not sure." And then one gift after the next started to come online, and then I could feel very shortly after it was time to open a practice to be able to help others, and all my first clients were healers and teachers. I was like, I don't know why they're all lining up, but and it was just what was magnetized, and meaning, so it's also that, it's a lot of us have not felt safe to express those gifts, supported to have them online. I think that's going to change now a lot. I work with a lot of teacher and healers now that are literally that's their work, just to keep nurturing folks' gifts to come online. Just be like, "You got them. It's okay. You're not weird. You're not different." Yeah, I do see things and I do feel, oh, and I can, and I see ahead, and, just starting to trust in those gifts.
Yeah, I agree, and
Yeah.
really well put, and thank you for that. And one thing I want to make sure we talk about, because it's something I think when I read it, I had to read it like 3 times that you put as a topic, because I was like, yeah, I've never thought about this. And it sounds interesting. And that is the presence versus performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you
Yeah, sure.
share some
Yeah.
of what you're referring to and what that looks like?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for asking. Well, like we were saying earlier about returning back to this beautiful, true divine essence of your soul, your capital S self versus your lower S self, yourself, the lower self. The capital S self, our soul, is based in presence. There is no doing, trying, pushing, forcing, performance. Look at me. I don't, it's not seeking validation, acknowledgement, approval. That when you really truly come home to your truth, there exists just presence and spaciousness and peace, because there's none of that exists anymore. The lower S self, which would be more like our identity self, the egoic self, um, really any kind of really mostly the egoic self, m gets us kinda wrapped up in what's called performance. A lot of the path, as far as I understand, and I'm hearing from spirit, and this is kinda something I teach, it's not the path of becoming, it's the path of unbecoming. It's about sloughing off all that you're not, so you can just be like this spacious container of like light and love, and spirit can guide you, and you can be used accordingly. And you can say, "Hey, this is my mission. This is my purpose." Spirit's like, "Great. Well, I've got this wonderful assignment for you." You're like, "Great." And then there's like joy in that, and creativity in that, and abundance and prosperity in that. There's no performance in that path that we described. That was a surrendered state to spirit of presence. The other one, where the ego gets involved, is like, "Okay, mom and dad said you need to do this, and the world thinks you should do this, so I better do this, and you should do this, and if you don't do this, they're not gonna like you, and you won't be loved, and you're gonna be ostracized." You're like, "What?" And then suddenly we're listening to this voice and we're performing. We're like, "Okay, well, I'm in this job, but I don't really like my job. And I'm a doctor. So people say I'm a really good person and I'm making money. But when I go home, I feel really tired and I don't feel excited about it. And I don't like this job. But I'm performing. I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing because people say that's a good job." And then my mom and dad said I should be a doctor. So I'm a doctor. And then now I'm a doctor and I really don't like it. And I know it's good for the world, but when I really check in with myself, I'm actually very creative. I'm an artist and I love to do healing work with people. Example, right? So we need doctors, of course. There's folks that are lined up in their soul process to be doctors. There could be some that are like, actually, I'm really super interested in the holistic field of medicine. I have been very much in the medical, and gosh, I've been kind of over here, but really where I want to go is here. Like I feel a calling to it, but I kind of can't get out of it because I'm still stuck in this, and I call this kind of the need to, the have to, the shoulds, the supposed to world, right?
Right.
The ego gets involved. It's like, you need to do this, and you have to do this, and you should do this, and if you don't do this, and it's always based on sort of like a tactic to say, if you don't follow this like way, then you will be abandoned, alone, and no one will love you. Which is just like a bunch of hogwash, as you know, Michael, because if we truly come home to ourselves and our soul and spirit, there's an abundance of love and peace and protection and belonging and wisdom and all of that inside of us that we don't have to seek outside of us. So we're on this constant treadmill within the performance of trying to seek it outside of us so that we can finally feel good and well and safe and people love us. But as you know, you can't control the outer world. You can't control what people are going to show up like. You don't know if you're going to lose your job tomorrow. You don't know if your mom and dad are going to pass in the next week. You can't control that. But what we can in a healthy way control is our how we are in our reaction to the world, our response to the world, right? And how we treat ourselves, and that of this self-love and this self-compassion, this self, this self-healing, we start to really trust ourselves. We start to come home to ourselves. We start to do that inner work that is needed to kind of clear those cobwebs. And we start to feel like, wow, I also can trust in my voice, my intuition, my discernment around my choices, my decisions. I'm not at the whim of the world anymore. They don't get to tell me who I am. I know who I am. Right. And so that performance goes offline because you're no longer trying to like be something for the people. You just, you know that even if they all left you, you would still be loved because you are love, you know?
Right. And I kind of love the synchronicity of both the topics that we just recently were talking about. There is an element to it that you brought up in the topics for the show, possibly. And I love how they've been like kind of there, but we're kind of talking around it. And that is how the fear creates false identity. And
Yep.
I just feel like right now it's like, we had two segments where it kind of was in there saying, the fear is what's creating this image. And we're
Mhm.
not like outwardly saying it, but that's in reality what we are saying. And so I was like, yeah, this seems like a great moment to bring awareness to that
Mhm.
aspect. And I just love how it's just like naturally coming up, and it's like twice. I'm like, okay, I'll bring it up. I'll ask about it. I
Wasn't
get
it?
it.
I mean, yeah, fear is a huge part of the reason why exactly that identity even exists, that we have some sort of selfiness that says, I am this because I actually fear that if I was to dissolve into my soul and the light of who I truly am, then I mean, there's like gargoyles guarding the gate saying, "You'll be nothing. You'll be nobody will like you." Like, it's like, that's the fear, right? It's the fear. Like, literally, if you could imagine little gargoyles like at the gate, like, so you better not go in there. You'll dissolve into nothing. And it's like, actually, and you've heard this on the path, people are like, oh, that sounds so good. But to dissolve into nothing, into no one, to be as you be, like without this identity and with letting go of the mask and just being as you are, that doesn't mean that you don't have energy and you don't feel feelings, and it's just you're no longer like plugged into the matrix. You're unplugged. You're free. You're liberated. You're a liberated soul. You're a sovereign soul. You are now in connection to your intuition, your energy system. Nobody gets to hang out inside of it. You're not fearing that if you don't like give yourself over constantly and let them walk all over you or whatever, or do the thing that they want you to do, somehow you're going to be alone, abandoned, and not loved. That is the fear. Like the ultimate, I think, two fears that exist on this planet is, I would say three, but yeah, fear of death is a huge one for people, which keeps them limited in living, right? They're like, oh, I'm gonna die someday. It's like constantly worrying they're gonna die, and then you're not really living, right? And then the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being, that they're gonna be abandoned if we don't follow some sort of way to be, and then fear of pain. People fear pain, and if we could just realize that pain is just our greatest teacher, and it literally within that discomfort is literally your lessons of your soul encoded inside of it. So the sooner that we just embrace it, learn about it, feel it, surrender to it, do the energy work to work with it, whatever, it's going to have a voice and it's going to say, "This is what I'm feeling." And you're like, "Oh, interesting." But we've been taught to run from it, resist it, react to it, right? Get away from it. The fear is like, "I'm just knocking at your door trying to help you evolve. This is your fear. This is your pain. You said you wanted to heal it, so here I am again." It's like, "Oh God, where's this fear coming from?" It's like, it's the fear that you believe in, and as soon as you go, "Oh, wow. Gosh, is this even real? Oh, this is an illusion because it's masked inside of this projection of what has happened before that's happening now and will happen again." And the whole thing is just a trap of the ego itself to try to get you to stay small and safe and in your bubble and never to expand. The truth is it just is trying to keep its job. As soon as you dissolve and say, "You know what? No, I'm sorry, ego. Not sorry. Not buying into any of that anymore. I'm ready to expand. I'm ready to evolve. I'm not going to be limiting of myself anymore. I'm a divine light being. Have potential and power that is so great that I can literally expand my consciousness and awareness beyond my body to my friends, my family, the state, the country, the world, and send love." Okay, yeah, I am not a limited being of this small self, right? And then he goes like, "Oh no, she's gonna like, I'm not gonna have a job. I got to find a way to scare her. I got to find a way to make her think that she's this limited little self." So why is the soul work profound? It's just the ego's like, "Oh, can't find anywhere to go in here." It's like, you'll have a couple voices. It'll certainly try. It'll be like, "This doesn't work and it's too easy and the soul's not real." I mean, the ego will always try to do what it does, but it is real. And the only limit to this process is your imagination.
I agree. And I will say too, you need to do an audiobook with gargoyles. Your gargoyle voice is perfect.
That's great, right?
I was like, I was not
That's
expecting
fun.
that. And I was like,
I wasn't either.
yeah.
Thank you.
So
You never know what spirit's gonna throw out, as this is just really just a listening process to as a transmission when I speak to people. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna come out, but yeah, I have seen those gargoyles, before. It's not like I'm just making it up. I can feel, I can literally see them like as a vision of like they're literally like these little monsters are like around the gate, and they're just like, "You can't come in here. It's scary." And you're like, "Oh, you mean where like I find complete liberation, peace, and joy? Yeah, this isn't good." You're like, "Okay, bye-bye, gargoyles," opening the door, So a lot of the guided work I do is to literally go into the chamber of the soul, open the door, go inside, and realize it's completely safe there. It's beyond safe. It's like ecstatic bliss.
yeah.
So it's just a big illusion that we've been like, the gargoyles are selling us this illusion that it's scary and it's you don't want to go there. And it's like that's where you find your freedom.
And what's interesting is you were like talking about the gargoyles being like the guardians of the gate and, keeping you from passing through. I had a flash of the never ending story with the two Sphinx at the end where they're like, yeah, if you doubt yourself, they won't let you pass, and nobody knows what's on the other side because nobody's made it past the first gate to get to the other two gates. And
That's symbolic.
I'm like, yeah, and
Uh,
I'm like, I'm finding it as my awareness goes, more attuned. I go back and I look at things that I watched as a kid, and I'm like, whoa, how did I not see this when I first watched this, and it's like there's little things and,
Oh, yeah,
like, everything, and it's like
it's true.
and I start to wonder a little bit of, as we talk about being programmed, society programs us to do this, or somebody's programmed us to do this.
Mhm.
And as we're awakening and I'm seeing all these little nuances, I'm like, was this programming me along the way? And I just never knew it.
For sure. Yeah, a lot of that is exactly what's going on in The Matrix, of course. As you know, that's not a document or that's not a movie, that's a documentary. Um, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the powers that be, there's both the light and the dark. There is that polarity that exists here, and there's those folks that have just haven't done their work internally. There's both on the 3D dimensional plane of the physical beings, as well as the beings that are in the invisible plane that are like, this is not good for business. We need them to stay asleep. It helps with just basically just reinstating that whatever they think and believe is real. That's we have to stand by it, It's
Right.
greed is real, fear is real, illusion is real, pain is real, it's forever, you can't ever get out of it. Like those programs, they are programs and they will infiltrate through media, through social media, through movies, through radio shows, through magazines you pick up, conversations you hear in a grocery store. It's kind of like whatever you're experiencing within yourself, if there is any fear, for instance, we are programmed in this realm to experience that of which we fear as a way to put a program in place and say that is real. So we're like, how is this? When you tell me this fear isn't real, but it just happened and I was fearing it and it happens, like, exactly what's within is without. So that's why as we clear our system, we don't start to manifest our fears anymore. We don't start to create these illusory energies that make it look really real. So it's challenging work. I understand. I mean, I used to have tons of fear. I speak I when I speak on behalf of a system that's gone through all of it too, and that I know what it's like to be in a lot of fear and to be like, "Oh my god, is this ever gonna end?" And just to stay with it, right? Keep doing the inner work, just like, "Oh, that's another illusion," and then updating my system, right? From love and compassion and forgiveness and inner child, soul work right now. I mean, if I had known about this soul work or was ready to do the soul work that I'm doing with folks 20 years ago, I'd probably be fully evolved out of this body. I wouldn't need to be here anymore, because it's that rapid. But yeah, I went on the more circuitous, longer circuitous, arduous path of healing each one of those layers and programs and patterns. There really is that work still to do here for folks. It's just what we're saying is there's a whole lot more of light and divine love and light coming in. The glass ceiling upon our planet has broken. So now we have lots of that coming in. You've got so much more divine support. The ascended beings, angels are all just wrapped around this planet and be like, we got your back. So we're never alone. So yeah, I mean, fear is a program and we can either buy into it. And if you ever have, join the club. And what's really awesome and beneficial is forgiveness. Really forgive yourself for that because we've been a part of a planet where that has been the way things have been. It's, "Oh gosh, I can't believe I ever if it's an illusion, how stupid was I?" It's like, "No, like, hey now, like, how about some compassion and forgiveness for that is what it has been." So can you
Right.
forgive yourself and just say, "Yeah, I forgive this fear. I forgive myself for ever buying into this illusion of fear that I wasn't good enough or I'm not worthy." Like that's powerful. That's some powerful work. That really beautiful, potent forgiveness work. Some folks will be like, "Well, I don't know if I can do that." It's like, well, then find something called the Ho'oponopono prayer. That's a beautiful forgiveness practice. You can find it in a video. You can find I think I did one on a video myself. There's a lot of different people out there doing Ho'oponopono work, just like as a daily, just Ho'opono practice. It's an ancient Hawaiian prayer. It's super helpful. So yeah, I just sense a lot of people are like, when they hear this, they're like, oh, well, if it's just an illusion, then why did I maybe should never believe that. It's like, that's us being hard on ourselves. Why I'm calling forth for our planet, Yeah, this really loving, compassionate, empathetic understanding and forgiveness. For all the time that we didn't know this, didn't know how to process this, we've been really hard on ourselves, across the world.
Right. And one of the things that I love about this work is like you saying, you saw fear and it, showed you what was within and, went within. And me, when I see something that like presents itself in front of me as a fear, I'm like, ooh, now's my chance to put it down and move beyond it and
Mhm.
not and step forward from it and be like face it. And
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
but the one thing that is most interesting about all of this that I feel like is the most essential part of what we're talking about is in the Greeks, when we look at ancient Greece and when medicine was first formed, the first law or rule of medicine was physician heal thyself. And then over time, it became physician heal thy other,
Mhm,
not yourself. And we had to heal ourselves first. And you're doing a lot of work of promoting you have to heal yourself and you have to put yourself first. And it's like, yes, it's no longer the
mhm,
selfish thing of healing yourself first so that you can help the next person.
mhm,
And so I recognize that and I see that. And one aspect that you're doing that with that I think is brilliant is because I was just talking with people about this is we are in a system right now where it's like, oh, masculine's bad. We got to heal the sacred feminine or
mhm, mhm,
sacred or the masculine is out of whack and you got to be more masculine than feminine and
mhm,
you're doing work and you actually have a retreat coming up on harmonizing the masculine and feminine. So thank you for that.
mhm. Thank you for bringing it up. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, that work is crucial. We've had a pretty big battle literally on the planet between men and women on many different levels, right? Just challenging, like, I don't know if I understand you and you don't understand me. Meanwhile, we don't have a harmonious sacred dance of the masculine and the feminine going on within ourselves. So no wonder it feels so hard to be in those communications or conversations. And then, of course, the feminine having its wounding around the dominant patriarchal historical timeline we've been a part of and how that's shifting and divine feminines coming in and emerging. But yeah, that work again, just like you said, it's really wise what you said. It's within, without. So we need to not only learn about our sacred masculine or sacred feminine and what is that comprised of, and then have those start talking internally, and then honor both and heal what's within where there is any pain or blockages or fear or we can often have our the self, the lower self can actually have judgment of the masculine within or judgment of the feminine, depending on how your relationship was with your mom and your dad. You know what I mean? It's like we have these characters in our life, and then that's where the judgment really comes from. And then that's just our inner work to go, oh, that was what I saw, that's what I experienced. But within me, there's nothing wrong with my masculine, there's nothing wrong with my feminine. They both have very specific roles and energetic components that are utilized to assist my process and moving through this world. Even though you're in a female body doesn't mean that you're constantly in your feminine. We have a sacred masculine within us as well that helps us move and create structure and stability and foundation and action. We want to have a loving kind of harmonious relationship with it. So that way, when appropriate, one comes forward more than another. And it's not like one's better than the other. It's just a appropriate moment of share in the world, right? And
Right.
I'm really enjoying getting to know more beings on the planet that are doing this inner work, have done their work. I'm in another business for a music business called One Voice Collective, and the business partners I'm working with are existing very much in their divine masculine. It's two men and myself. And so we're getting to experience this very sacred masculine, sacred feminine business experience, conscious business. And it's fascinating and it's beautiful. And there's an honoring of both within that business. So yeah, and just can see how it would create a lot more harmony within business worldwide between men and women, and this end of the competition, like women be like, "Well, you don't hear me," and men are like, "Well, you seem to be fighting me all the time," and I don't know what. It's like there's a lot of we're better than you. It's like no, nobody's better than. So again, this holy war is going on inside that's creating this outside.
Right. And I was talking with a lady who was doing sacred feminine workshops, and I said, and I brought up the point like you were saying, like when, there's a lot of arguments between men and women where women are like, you don't understand me.
Yeah.
And I go, well, how can we? Anytime we, there's nowhere for us to go to understand the sacred feminine. Any sacred feminine workshop, they all say women only.
Mhm.
So it's like, well, I'm a guy. How am I ever going to learn how
Ex
to utilize and learn the sacred feminine when it's women only?
That's right,
And
and that's
sacred
why
masculine classes are men only. And it's like women will never understand men because we are so focused on like our healing of them individually, but we don't ever look at going, what about the other side? There's no co-ed. And I get, how some women, have past where if a man was to show up there, her work would be maybe impossible because
Mhm.
not feeling safe. I get that, but then I also feel like you can't say to the men, you don't take the time to understand me or anything because there's no opportunities.
Yeah, right, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's the message I got. I was working with women predominantly for a long time, with goddess facilitation. I was a goddess facilitator for a long time, lots of groups and gatherings and retreats. And then maybe a few years ago, Spirit was like, time to work with men and women and bring them into a space and conscious collaboration between men and women, doing a lot of, again, local and global work in that way. And so, yeah, the message I have is that the sacred masculine, the sacred feminine work that's going to be happening, for example, in that retreat in November in Santa Barbara, is for men and women. It's for us to be in the room together. And um, we do set up a very compassionate, safe, loving container where I've seen this before, and it can be build a lot of compassion for each other, a lot of empathy for one another. It's like, wow, I had no idea. Like, for men and for women. And that compassion is really needed between the men and women. It's not a requirement. I understand there's parts of a woman, so I don't feel compassionate based on my experience. We're not requiring compassion. We're just saying that if there was an antidote to healing the end of the battle of the sexes and this like lack of understanding for each other, it would be able to hear one another's pain enough that we could say, wow, you too have pain. You too have experienced similar dynamics. I can see where maybe men are in there talking about their moms and like what I've experienced with my mother and the relationship with the feminine. I've also defended myself and protected myself from the feminine, and women saying, "Well, I've done the same." And so it's like, huh, is it possible that we're all in this together? And we just have not been in rooms enough, like you're saying, where we get to share in that experience together. So yes, there isn't as much of that on the planet, and we will be opening up the space for that again. And I have done other gatherings, which a couple many, well, actually quite a few workshops where I've seen this to be very successful, and women or men really appreciate it. They're like, wow, it was really fantastic to be in the same room together.
Yeah, and One thing I'm looking at the list here too because I want to make sure we cover all the big points that
Mhm,
we were talking about that are unique, and somehow I don't know
mhm,
how we didn't get to this sooner when we were talking about the soul, but you wrote down the to me a topic of the difference between personality and soul.
mhm. Yeah. Well, it's kind of where we were before, the beautiful, soul work, right? Which is, really the, loving integration of the personality into the soul. It's not about getting rid of the personality and getting rid of it. The personality is basically comprised of all the of who you are, kind of a lot more identity based, right? Our personality is identity based. So it's, who I am, and this is what I have this money, and I go to this job, and I'm a woman or I'm a man, my personality. And I like dogs, and I'm a friendly person, and I want to be good. And, just this, my personality is more like my identity. How do I see myself in the world? How do other people see me in the world? That's my concern. Like, I'm looking at myself all the time and saying, "This is who I am." But it's not based in truth, typically. It's based in more of like, again, these masks that we wear to feel safe, to feel empowered, to feel comfortable, to feel part in the world. And so that's our personality. Our personality tends to, be in that realm of performance again, and um, yeah, trying to fit in, trying to feel like it belongs, trying to feel like it feels safe and lovable. So it kind of will do whatever it needs to do to get that, and that might not be existing within your truth. It's existing in whatever you have to do to kind of maintain your safety and to feel in control and loved. And that doesn't come from a whole centered, grounded space where your soul exists, right? So what happens with the inner work, we don't get rid of our personality. We become a soul integrated personality. And so now it's kind of like our personality still exists, but it's purified. And our personality, the soul kind of uses it as an interface in the world.
So it kind of is sounding to me like personality would be the ego, the earth guide only, and the soul is like our galactic ego. But I don't like using the word ego because
Hmm.
everybody references as, and it makes more sense as the earth guide only. And so I was
Hmm.
like talking with some people and we were like, what would you call a galactic guide? And I was like, GGO, galactic guide only. It doesn't roll out the tongue like ego, but
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't know what we would call it, but it's sounding like that's when we're talking about like presence versus performance and the personality and the soul. It's like it's differentiating our ego from our galactic core almost, or our galactic identity.
Yeah. I haven't stated it that way, but that resonates. Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is, our soul is just this beautiful, luminous spark of creation. It's a spark of divinity, and I almost imagine it like, I especially see it when I work with transition, with someone when they're transitioning. It's like that final breath, that wind, that light, that energy that comes from the body. It's like this gust of, force of energy that's beyond the body. It's like literally a spark of creation, and it travels from there. It's a real amazing thing. So when I help people connect with their soul, I remind them that their soul is, a fractal of oneness, of the frequency of oneness. We are a fractal of this divine tapestry that is being interwoven by other souls all here together in this frequency of oneness. And every soul matters, every soul's unique divine expression matters. No soul is the same, and we're all a part of the one. So we're just like this beautiful expression of creation, of God, goddess, universe moving through at the soul. It's a beautiful. kind of representation of spirit in some way, but we're all here kind of with our own unique makeup, right? Because we've all had our blueprint, our soul blueprint has gone on for however long, some of us thousands and thousands of years of lives. So our blueprint is very specific and it's been designed over the course of time. So that's at least how I find folks are like, oh, wow, yeah. It's like, and it really is beyond the mind. Like the mind's not going to be able to comprehend what we're talking about. So if anyone here is trying to figure this out through their minds, it's not going to really work so well because almost words don't even really give it what we need. You know, we're doing our best with words, but what it's really about dropping in a receptive, intuitive state of awareness of dropping into that space and feeling it and going there and practicing it and living in it and like, oh, this feels amazing. There's a differentiation between being here and being out here in our mind. It's not peaceful there. Here, dropping in, and then how can we do that? How can we drop in, live in there, live in our soul's light, be our soul's light with our eyes open and stay there and like be present, right? And that's just that beautiful inner work, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And talking about time, I just realized we're at an hour and 16 minutes, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you have a lot of things to do, and so I don't know if you have time to go a little bit longer or if you have to go. So I
Thank
want to
you.
respect your time and your schedule and realizing, oh, I totally did not even see we went over the hour.
It's all right. I probably could wrap it up just in a couple minutes. That would be great. Yeah, I'm moving on to the
Okay.
next piece of the day here. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we wrap it up with you
Yeah.
sharing what you have coming up and anything that you want to promote out?
Oh, thank you so much, Michael. Yeah, so let's see. I do have a lot going on, but I would say the best way to continue on this journey, what we just spoke about, every month I do have a class that I do online, which is great because anybody can join it. It's called Spiritual Awakening. It's a pretty deep dive. We go internally. So, another way to find that class and anything else that's happening, as well as the retreat we spoke of, that's coming up in November. That's November 7th in Santa Barbara. And Santa Barbara at the Unity Spiritual Community Center. And also, it's being professionally live streamed. So they do a pretty amazing job with that. It's multiple cameras and really great audio. So it's well done. That's available. Going to my website, there's a place there where it'll probably pop up and it'll show you that you can get, I think, three three free soul activation meditations. And then there's a newsletter. And my newsletter is great because you're not only going to get free wisdom and some value there for sure that we offer, but as well, you'll know about all upcoming events, workshops, classes. And then also, like I said, we're in development of this beautiful soul school. So stay tuned the next months. That's a pretty big endeavor to help the planet. And it'll be available for the world to join, whoever's feeling like that's where they need to be. So that'll be a full school of, prayer, transmissions, activation, meditations, working with as my facilitation, as well as other facilitators that are being guided to bring in their gifts, as well as speakers, opportunities for kind of moving through an 11 pillar journey of activation. And each one, so as far as I'm understanding from Spirit, is like an initiation process. So, yeah, that's in development. And yeah, I do have a lot of presence on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn, all kinds of fun stuff.
Well, thank you. And thank you for coming on. And I know this was an unusual time to try and get us to coordinate our schedules because you had a conflict and I had a conflict. And so I'm glad the universe finally had it line up to where we landed today because I feel like this was probably the better and more divine time. And
Yeah.
since you were on before, I do have a new way of ending the shows,
Okay.
and that is from my heart and the
Mm.
heart of my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing for humanity. Thank you for being authentically you and thank you for sharing your gifts and experiences.
Thank you so much. I received that so much. Thank you so much, Michael, for your beautiful heart and soul and how you express. I'm truly grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad the universe had our paths cross, and I do watch what's going on with you on LinkedIn and everywhere, and I don't always get to attend and watch things, but I'm aware, and it's like I'm like, ooh, what is she doing now? Ooh,
I
that's cool. And so I post and I share so other people may
thank
see it
you.
too.
Yeah, it's a whole interesting world, isn't it, online? Yeah, I was being asked to share my spirit was because I do a lot of my updated content on Insight Timer. So I wanted to mention I do have a profile there, and I do lives there. That's why I was being asked to say it. Besides the profile, but the lives are really potent and beautiful, and I'm doing them pretty much weekly. So if someone's looking to kind of dive in with me for like a 30-40 minute meditation once a week, that's also available. Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you following and thank you for your support. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. Yeah.
So
Thank
do
you.
like, subscribe, and follow along on the
Okay.
YouTube channels and her website, my YouTube channels, because as you know, you never know when she'll be popping in again and continuing our conversations. And as always, wonderful conversation and such a fun episode. So thank you. And
Thank you.
oh, Shelly says thank you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And have a wonderful day and weekend and a wonderful August. I can't believe we're already over half the year gone.
Yes. That is a true that's another topic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a wild topic. Yep. Mhm.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to say goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Blessings.